slow car. The slow car is going to be in the way.
Just like a year ago, he's going to get him, though. He's going to get him. Gordon got loose. It's Harvick.
Harvick by inches. Harvick by inches. Harvick by inches. What a race. What a finish.
How did Jeff Gordon hang on to that car that loose off turn 4?
Man.
We got him. Tell me we got him.
29 car. You got him, buddy. Harvick, you got him.
Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 8 of Dirty Air, your number one podcast for NASCAR, DFS, gambling, all that related stuff with NASCAR. I'm your host, Ryan Baumel, gambling DFS tips on Twitter. As always, Jason joins me, DFS NASCAR on Twitter. Jason, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys?
And the other side of that two-headed monster, Brandon Cruz. Brandon Cruz,
head.
DFS on Twitter. How are you, Brandon?
Howdy, and I'm well.
Hey, I know real quick, Ryan, before you get into, I know you got a big script there. Before you get into, I just want to let everybody know about something I got running on Twitter right now. I'm doing a March Madness style bracket. It's a DFS head-to-head style tournament, so it's like a bracket style. 64 teams are going to enter. You play, and it's 6 different DFS sports all the way through the tournament. Look me up on Twitter at DFS NASCAR if you guys are interested. We're about halfway full now, so just want to get it out there if you guys want to join that to the listeners.
I actually made a note to give you a chance to do that later, but you did it right off the bat, so that works just as well. Because to be honest, these notes, they don't really go in order, and then I'll probably forget, so I'm glad you got that.
I'm trying to do for March Madness, so it's a pretty fun idea, I think. Starting off with NASCAR this week as the first round, so it'll be head-to-head matchups through NASCAR, then NBA. I think I have NHL, UFC. I think it ends with golf, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah, and the beauty is that there's very few people that, are experts or, play a bunch of those sports all the time. So, it's fun.
That's why I started with NASCAR.
Well, I would say, speaking of crapshoots, we can go back and look at last week's race. So last week in Phoenix, what were your thoughts, Jason? Good race, bad race? What do we think?
I thought it was a pretty good race. I mean, I enjoyed watching it. It was fun. I think we saw a lot of the same guys we've been seeing up front so far to start the season, so that's interesting. Penske cars were still fast on flat tracks like we all thought they would be. So, and I think the big takeaway that I got from is, like, when we look back on the data from the flat tracks, it really transferred over to this race. It seems like the guys who we expected to run well seemed like they ran well, aside from a couple poor notes who we'll get into, I'm sure.
Brandon, what were your thoughts? Good race, bad race?
Yeah, it was a entertaining race. I didn't see the competition letting Logano lead that much. I knew he'd be fast, but it was disappointing to see that, like, every time Larson got up there, he'd speed on pit road, or Truex was there late at the end, but he really didn't show up till the latter part of stage 3. Chase Elliott was never a contender. Christopher Bell really didn't do anything. Not that I was playing him. I was just curious about what he would do, and I'm really interested in looking at the ownership more probably later tonight, of how the ownership really broke down between everybody, because there was no real favorite. There was a lot of people around similar ownerships. The chalk that I expected Logano to have wasn't even there. And
it was all spread out. Yeah, I'm looking at the ownerships right now. If you have somebody that you're interested in, I got them right here in front of me.
Do you think it's because Larson went to the back? Do you think he was the chalk? Do you think he was going to be 40%, or you think even then still would have?
Put that link in the Discord, and I'll, because I had it earlier, but I X'd out of it. But I think it's interesting. I think we need to talk about that first and foremost, and really try and figure out where the community was going.
Yeah, it's kind of the it seems like everything was very spread out. Typically we've been seeing a few guys being 40 to 50%, and we didn't have that at all this week. You had Keselowski at 37, Hamlin at 35, Custer at 33 for 6,700, so he was the obvious everybody's value play there. Almirola was 4th at 28.71, so I mean, still draw some ownership to that position differential, but not that 40% that we've been seeing.
Yeah, because I faded Logano expecting his ownership to be around 50, 45, 55, somewhere around there. It wasn't even close.
23.63, yeah.
I mean, I don't get that at all. Like, I mean, I didn't play him because I thought he was going to be really high owned, and I just wanted to get
Especially
off.
when you figure he was the obvious pivot off Chase, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
right,
don't.
same price range. You figured if you guys who were playing Chase who were pivoting off were probably going to go Logano.
Yeah, I mean, I knew right when I saw his ownership, I was like, I'm already behind just because he should have been way higher. Like,
So at what ownership, if you knew he was what ownership, what would you have played him at, Brandon? Sub 30, 25?
no, I mean, if he came in what he came out at, I would have played him. I faded him thinking everybody was going to play him. I thought he was going to be 50% owned because he should have been 50% owned. Hell, he won the race. He had the best car. All the stats are pointing to him. So I really don't understand why he wasn't played as much as he was, or as much as he should have been. That just baffled me. I didn't get that at all.
All right,
Yeah.
well, let's go. Let's go. Something we did last week, we'll do it again this week. We kind of went over it a little bit, but we'll get down into it. Jason, one thing you learned this week.
Well, I mean, I just kind of still talking about these ownerships. I mean, just if this is something we're going to see going forward, if stuff's going to be a little bit more spread out, I mean, how much leverage are you getting on some of these plays? I don't know, but I mean, it just seems like with these Cup series, it's becoming a lot harder and harder to predict ownership because I mean, you have a lot more casuals that are playing Cup series now. It seems like, and I mean, there are going to be times where we're going to have these obvious position differential plays that are going to garner the ownership, but I think you're seeing more people less and less confident on these dominator plays, and they're just nobody really knows where to go. So it seems like stuff's getting spread out up on top.
Why do you think the Harvick ownership wasn't really there as much? Do you think it was because they priced him up, because people weren't doing place differential as much?
24.76. I mean, that's probably higher than it should have been.
But I think normal Kevin Harvick at Phoenix, especially where he was starting, I think he's 40% owned, right?
Well, we talked about how this isn't the same track, and he performed as well as we thought he would. You know, we didn't expect him to lead or win, but he was fast. They're just guessing at the setups right now. But even the 24.76, that's still surprising based on people going off of track history. We should have seen him higher. Keselowski, I'm not sure if that's because he was the pole sitter or because a lot of the data pointed to him. He just didn't show up with the setup. Hamlin at 35. Interesting. I had a lot of Hamlin. I didn't think that he would be that high. Eric Almirola at 28. I mean, he wasn't optimal. He didn't pay. What was he, like a 5.9?
5.89, yeah. Value wise.
I mean, I don't get that at all. People are just being safe there. Kirbush was underpriced, so even at the 28, that's still surprising. It's just crazy. You know, I don't get it at all. Even Kyle Larson going to the back at 18.61. You know, that's interesting.
Truex 11.61.
You know, yeah, and I threw Truex into 3 lineups, and I told everybody in my Discord, hey, like Truex, nobody's playing him. I'm gonna have some Truex just in case something happens. Because yet again, if you're looking at data, Truex only led 40 laps at his history at Phoenix in like the last 10 races or something along those lines. So none of the data pointed towards Truex showing up with that car. They just made a long pit stop during the competition caution, and that really changed the car. And so I don't know. It's like this is a weird race, weird ownership, man. Nothing went exactly the way I thought it would.
That's what
both in the race and DFS wise.
Yeah, just going back to Truex, that was kind of like how I got on him. We kind of talked about earlier before the show started. Is when Chase got announced, it was kind of like I had to then I moved some of the dominator points that I was given to Chase, and I was trying to figure out who that top 5 was going to go to, and it just seemed like Truex was the guy that I figured once you start eliminating Larson out of the top 5, start listening Chase Elliott out of the top 5, then it would seem like Truex is going to run front and probably get the opportunity to get some fast laps in the beginning. So that was kind of where I went to with my ownership off the pivot off of Chase a little bit at the end of that, and it worked out well. So I wish I'd have saw it earlier.
Or Bubba Wallace at 16.63.
I don't understand that at all. I thought Bubba was going to be chalk.
Yeah, he should have been chalk. I played 65% Bubba Wallace.
He was 50%, yeah.
Yeah, he was at a perfect price range. That car, I mean, we got quite lucky because the caution came out and saved him because those idiots stayed out in old tires. But, you know, between him wrecking Custer and taking that value out and Bubba doing as well as he did, I mean, even 16.3, that's people not liking Bubba, not liking how he's running and focusing on how he's going to get fired. And him at 16%. That's crazy. That's absolutely wild.
I mean, but if we look though, I mean, he was higher than the guys he was priced around, right? I mean, 70. It's just he was the highest guy that people went to in this range. 7,600 was 9%. Chase at 7,600 was 9.9. Dillon at 7,400 was 10%. Jones below him was 8.2. Chastain 8.04. So I mean, everybody went to Cole Custer right there at 6,700 below Bubba. Everybody just paid down at 35%.
Yeah. It's so funny though, because when Brandon was just talking about Bubba, like everything he was saying, I was like checking off like, yep, that's why I didn't play him. That's why I didn't play him. That's why I didn't play him. I think that's kind of Brandon was like right though. I think that's like the casual person or whatever is just focusing on how bad Bubba's been, and it's just like I'd rather just not play Bubba right now, and that was the end of the analysis. And that probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Anything else on Bubba, Brennan, or?
No, I mean, the equipment's there. The lap data from Vegas, he's in a JGR car. How he ran in this race, he's a JGR car. I'm not sure if people are going to do the opposite. Bubba seems like a guy who there's already a stigma in the DFS, because I was getting comments and everything even during the week. They're like, how could you play Bubba? What do you do? Bubba leads to losing money. And I was like, I mean, everybody leads to getting money and losing money. Like,
I told people to play Bubba and Stenhouse this week, so everybody was on. I got a lot of that, but I mean, they both worked out great. So
Bubba seems like the top of the list, like recency bias guy. Like when he's not driving well, nobody plays him. In the couple races that he starts driving well is when people start playing him.
Well, I think the time you would want to play Bubba Wallace
list
is when he's starting 25th. This was a time to play him. I mean, 25th on back is when you're like, I don't know why everybody was on him. That's baffling. Like I can understand if he's 18th or something, starting 18th, 19th. But yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, and I really think it's a lot of people having the same bias towards like sports teams and stuff. Because if you play, NFL DFS or whatever, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't play this team because I don't like them, or I don't like this quarterback. And I think Bubba he's pretty much the most divisive driver in the Cup Series right now. And I would lean more towards people don't like him in general. And I think that's really reflected in his DFS stuff. That's a good point. It's baffling here. More people played Michael McDowell starting 16th than played Bubba Wallace starting 25th. Yeah, it's wild.
Right. So Brandon, from last week, what's one overreaction you've seen online that you're not worried about?
I really haven't looked, man. I try and take Monday and Tuesday off of a lot of stuff. Like I really start looking into Atlanta, around 3 on Tuesdays and stuff. So I really haven't seen a whole lot of feedback. I try not to look at Twitter after the race on Sunday and Monday just to see the tilt across the board. So I typically don't know any overreactions right now, other than people being mad at Bubba, because I've seen that too. They're like, anytime I play Bubba, he loses me money. Anytime I don't play him, he does good. And as Jason just said, I mean, this was a situation where Bubba had a really high floor. That I mean, this was the time to play Bubba. I'm not sure it'll be next week, but that's what it was.
Jason, what's one overreaction you saw that you're not worried about?
Well, not overreaction, but something I like to do is just go over some of the things that stood out to me as far as performance-wise by a few guys, guys who overperformed and underperformed based on the data, what the data was telling us. Like Chase Elliott, again, I mean, where's Chase been? He's top of this list. This is like 3 weeks in a row that Chase has made this list of just underperforming. I mean, this is another track that he was supposed to have speed at. I mean, just like the last 2 weeks, like, where's Chase? Like I keep hearing everybody asking about Harvick, but what's going on with Chase Elliott? And then obviously Kyle Busch. I mean, we know he's struggled, but this past week was an extraordinary struggle. Kirbush is another one who I think I expected to run a lot better than what he ran this week. And then guys who overperformed, I think Chris Bell ran very well if you compare him to what he ran last year. It looks like he's making strides again, so that's something positive looking forward. Bubba, I think, ran very well. And then another guy who I got highlighted here was rookie Stenhouse Jr. He has finished in the top 18 in every race this season and has not DNF'd. And he's probably going to be priced around the same price this week.
I think you just cursed Ricky Stenhouse. He hasn't DNF'd. Well, I think we know what's coming soon.
I mean, we all know it's coming at some point.
I mean, it already starts every time a race starts. When you're like, no whammies, every time. every time.
No, man,
And
it's all right.
I will keep.
It doesn't beat anything. It doesn't change anything. I tried not saying it. I'm hoping that I find the right combination that just take down. I'll just use that every time.
Uh-huh.
Anything we missed from last week you guys want to go over before we get into this week?
No, I think I'm good.
No, just the ownership like we talked about.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Tired of losing in fantasy sports? Times are changing. Now it's just you versus the numbers. Prize Picks is the perfect place for you whether you are the biggest sports fan around or you're a seasoned vet in the daily fantasy space. On Prize Picks, you simply select 2 to 5 players and predict if they will go over or under their fantasy projection. Think Denny Hamlin is going to win the big race? Take his over and win real cash today. Prize Picks gives you the chance to win 10 times your money for getting 4 predictions correct. Entries are so simple. They can be made in less than 60 seconds. Sign up today at prizepicks.com or on the Prize Picks app and use code DIRTYAIR, that's DIRTYAIR, DIRTYAIR, to get a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy simplified. All right, let's get into this week. Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500, Atlanta Motor Speedway, 500 miles, 325 laps. 105 stage 1, 105 stage 2, 115 stage 3. Harvick is the defending champ. An interesting stat that I have is that there have only been 3 winners the past 6 years. Jimmy won in 2015 and 2016, Brad won in 2017 and 2019, and Harvick won in 2018 2020. So only 3 winners in the past 6 years. Jason, initial thoughts?
Well, my initial thoughts is like every week when I'm trying to break down these slates, I want to look at what's the data I want to look at to try to help determine my decisions for the week. And I didn't want to fall down the same trap that I fell into in Homestead. You know, I started compiling my first structure of races, and it was a lot of the same tracks we were looking at Homestead. And we remember at the beginning of that Homestead race, nothing went the way we expected it to. The data was completely wrong. So I'm not going back to that well. Like, I'm looking at them. Obviously, like, I have them here on my sheet, but I'm really going to be focusing on Homestead, Vegas. I know they're not entirely comparable to Atlanta, but I mean, it's the most recent data we have of these intermediate tracks. And I want guys who's been fast so far for the season. I mean, we've got now 4 races in now. I mean, we know who has been fast, and those are the guys who I'm going to be targeting more as opposed to looking back and the data of who ran well at Atlanta. Like, yeah, I'm going to look at Atlanta last year, but I don't think I'm putting so much emphasis in that stretch of those 1.5 miles last season.
Brandon, your initial thoughts?
I'll be doing the same thing that Jason is doing. I'm going to focus primarily on the Homestead race and the Las Vegas race. However, Atlanta seems to be the one track for me that I will keep past track history at. And just because this is such a difficult track for a lot of the teams in terms of the tire fall off, it's literally, I mean, there's just gaping holes in the asphalt filled in with the sealant between the seams of the lanes. So, you know, track data or previous track history is important. I'm also wanting to look at how this track is going to run. Obviously, we have 2 races this year, but normally it's the second race of the season. It's usually in February where temperatures are colder. The forecast for Sunday right now, I'm looking at it, it's supposed to be 65 degrees and have an overcast for most of the day. Should be cloudy. If that changes, you know, from now till then, obviously I'm going to adjust from there. But usually these colder tracks would favor people like Bowman, Blaney, Elliott, Harvick, obviously. I'm going to throw Kyle Larson in that as well. I think this would favor those types of guys. If it ends up being a hotter track, that's where Truex would come in. And just looking right now, the guys that are, I mean, Larson is the best car in the series right now. And if the team can get his stuff done on pit road, he should dominate this race. We saw him get like 3 pit road incidents last week at Phoenix. He nearly missed the entry to pit road at Las Vegas. Again, I think that's just him not being used to the car. But, I mean, he is the favorite going into this race, in my opinion. Same thing with people like Alex Bowman, Keselowski too, and Martin Truex Jr. depend on the weather. Like those are going to be the guys that I'm going to focus on entering this week.
Yeah, I'm actually agreeing with you this week, Brandon. I actually went and done some preliminary projections this week before the show to kind of see where I'm
Hey,
landing
see,
at.
you're doing what I
I
told you
know,
to. Look
I
at
know,
that.
right? Look at let's go. But just to kind of see before I start spitting off this stuff, and yeah, Kyle Larson jumps out to me and where I'm at right now. Obviously, this can change as we move through the week. But initial thoughts: Larson, Keselowski, and Truex are the guys I'm gonna be focusing on in this top six.
Is there any issue, Jason, with Larson that he seems to be boom or bust here? Since he's been, I think it's 2 top 10s and two
No,
outside of top
you're
25.
looking at
Or
that. That stuff's just so. I mean, that's not really relevant here as far as like how he's ran here in the past. I mean, this has been the fastest car on the track for 3 weeks, probably at least 2 of the 3 weeks. I mean, he was not the fastest at Homestead, but he was plenty fast at Homestead. 57 fastest laps at Vegas. He had almost 50 again this past week at Phoenix in a track that he was behind on track position 3 times. I mean, I don't understand how you would get away from Kyle Larson here. Like, we're looking at Kyle Larson here as like what you would have been looking at Kyle Busch 2 years ago.
And I want to just bring that back to the ownership that we've seen these past weeks. Obviously, Larson is going to be the pole sitter, so we don't have to worry about that type of ownership. But we've seen that
Larson is not on the pole, is he?
No, he should be like 6 or 7.
Okay,
but
I gotcha. Okay.
I'm bringing up the fact that seeing how crazy ownership has been this year, I'm really not going to take. Obviously, it'll depend on where pricing is for the value range and stuff. But I'm not even going to worry about the ownership on Larson. I really don't care what it is. And
I don't think they're going to price him up. I mean,
don't.
Like you said, they're going off the data. I mean, I don't think that he's going to be 10,000 probably.
Yeah,
He
should be like 10-2, 10-1, 9-7, 9-8, 9-9, somewhere around in that range. And I'm just going to have a shitload of
everybody's going to play Denny Hamlin from the pole. You know, he's going to draw a shit ton of ownership. I mean, the week he had a fast car this past week. I mean, there's no reason why everybody's not going to be on Hamlin this week from the pole.
Yeah, and this is
Logano that's going to be fresh in everybody's mind, starting from the top 3, dominated last week. I think Hamlin's going to draw, and Chase always draws ownership because he's Chase Elliott. And Harvick, everybody's going to look at last year. Everybody's going to be on Harvick. I don't think there's a lot of room here for Larson to come in at 45% again. I mean, just people are going to go Harvick and Hamlin.
Yeah, I don't see it, and I want to talk about Harvick because obviously Childers is everybody's guessing, but this should be the one track that Harvick actually shows up at and should run fast times. And so there's not really a single person that I want to take out of the pool right now, obviously without salaries out. But I'm just going to be jamming in as much Kyle Larson as I can. Probably people like Kirbush and just going from there. So I mean, I like everyone so far. This is the 1 week right now. Like I said, I'm not worried about ownership, and I'm just going to be just building a lot of lineups, putting different people with Larson.
Jason, does the setup of the race affect at all how you're doing this in terms of how long the stages are? Because we saw last week stage 1 was short, stage 2 and 3 were pretty similar. This week, all 3 stages are all pretty much the same length. Does that have any impact on how you build a lineup or no?
I mean, it would if it wasn't for competition caution, but I mean, I don't think so because I'm starting to turn to like Brandon's strategy he was talking about last week, to where I don't think you chase lap sled. Obviously, you want lap sled, you want lap sleds, but you just want guys who are going to be fast, right? And if they're going to be fast, they're going to get fast laps. And if you get lap sled, you get lap sled. But I mean, faster laps to guys who are fast are a little bit more easy to predict than who's going to get that jump on the start, and then you say, oh, he's going to get, and then you're going to automatically chalk him down for 100 lap sled there in the first stage. It just never works that way. Never does.
Yeah, if you got a fast car getting fast laps, you can, or let's back up. I'm primarily focusing on guys who are going to run top 5, top 6 in the race, guys who are going to get fast laps, and guys who are on pit road. So you can look at the pit road data at racewithprize.com to see who's having the faster pit stalls right now. Because normally, if you're having fast pit stalls, you're going to be starting up front on restarts, and if you're starting up front, you're typically going to have faster laps. Not necessarily the fastest car, but you're going to have fast laps. You're going to be competing for top 5s, and so that's what I'm really going to use entering Atlanta. And looking at Homestead, I really want to look at the first part of Homestead. I know the driver or the teams are able to adjust their cars once it got later in the day and once it got a little bit cooler. but I want to look at how the cars were running when it was the hottest part at Homestead. Like, that's what I want to use looking at Atlanta.
So, Brennan, in terms of building a lineup this week at a track like Atlanta, Dom versus place differential, I know you're not chasing laps led, you're chasing the fast laps, but what in terms of place differential here, or you're just, that's not important to you?
So, looking at how we're going to have the lineups, and I just X'd out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important
here. I got the lineup.
I got it here. Sorry about that. So looking at the unofficial starting grid, there's not a whole lot of real good plays in the back. Like, obviously you have Reddick starting 29th. He'll carry some ownership here and there, but you really don't have a whole lot of place differential plays. Maybe if you want to argue Jones in 22nd, Briscoe in 24th, DeBenedetto in 20th, but this is a race where I'm going to be starting a lot of the guys, expecting them to stay inside the top 15.
Well, you've got Austin Cindric starting all the way at the back. I think he's going to be popular.
I'm not really. We'll see. Depends on what his price is. I mean,
yeah, we can talk about Cindric right now since we brought him up. Like, yeah.
I mean, from my point of view, he seems like a free square. Maybe I'm wrong, but he seems like a free square.
Listen, yeah, that's what everybody would say, right? I mean, he's starting dead last. He's in a Penske car, but I mean, you've seen how Chase Briscoe has struggled in the Stewart-Haas car. I mean, what makes you think Cindric's what kind of ceiling are you going to put on him? Like, what makes you think Cindric's going to come in? And this is his first start on an oval. Am I correct in the Cup Series?
Yeah.
First start Cup Series in an oval, and is he going to come in? You think he's going to run top 15 and break the slate? I mean,
I just don't think they're going to price him up enough.
Like, what can you project him at? Because we know the data doesn't transfer over from the Xfinity Series. If so, then Chase Briscoe would be leading to the points championship right now. I just think we've seen the situation on the board before, where you got a guy coming up in the series, you think he's got a good car, and I mean, the rookies just. It's a different sport. I mean, it's a different car. Everything. I mean, it just runs completely different. And I have him right now projected for a 24th place finish, which is 33 points, which is fair. Like, could he finish further than that? But I mean, how much more above 24th do you think he's going to run in his first start? I ain't confident. So it all comes down to where he's priced. If DK fucks up and drops the ball and prices him at like 6,100, then yeah, he becomes a free square, which they could do.
That's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming he's sub 7K. I think DK screws it up and he's sub 7K. That's what I'm basing him on. If he's above 7K, then I agree he's probably not a free square. But in my opinion, I think they price him down.
I think he'll probably be 6,900. I mean, I have him projected right now for 32.
Okay,
DK points, and so I mean, it would just depend on what his price is, because we can't expect him to do what Eric Almirola did last week, and Eric Almirola literally finished like at the top of his projections, and he still wasn't optimal. He scored all right. If you played him in cash, you were fine, which is what I said to do if you're playing cash. But he's not going to win any GPPs. So if Cindric is if he's over 7, there's a really good argument to be made that he's not going to be optimal, even at 6. And we're projecting him for like 24th. He might struggle. He might do the exact same thing that Briscoe did and end up running, 30 at 29th, getting lapped in his first race here, especially with no practice. So there is a chance that he doesn't even hit 24th as his projected finish. And so that's why I'm sorry, I'll let you talk in a second. No, that's why when I first started this, I was saying that there's not really a whole lot of good plays in the back, which is why my player pool is probably just going to be guys starting inside the top 20, and that's probably what I'm going to go with.
But yeah, real quick with Cindric, like if he is priced around like 70, if he's priced anything under like 75 to 7,600, under that, people are going to treat him like a free square when it's not the case. Like if he's 72, 7,300, everybody still treats him like a free square, and that's where everybody's going to go. And I think that range where he really becomes a free square is kind of around that 65, 6,300 range. And I think you can probably fade him above that.
Yeah, and I mean, let's look at the people that he's racing, which is I know people are going to ask him. So, Jason, answer this for me. Does he finish better than Timmy Hill?
Yes.
Quinn Hoff?
Yes.
Balicki?
Yes.
James Davidson?
Yes.
Cody Ware?
Yes.
Scott Heckert? Or BJ McLeod?
Whoever.
Corey LaJoie?
Yes, probably.
Anthony Alfredo?
Yes, probably.
Joey Gaze?
Yes.
Justin Haley?
Yes.
Daniel Suarez?
I don't know. I mean, I would say that's a push, maybe.
Yeah, so that's 10 guys right there that he's going to end up passing. That's why, probably bottom case is he's 30th? Because he's going to be he already has better equipment than the guys in the back. But do we see him push towards the top 25, top 22? That's where I think he's going to run into a bit of a problem. So that's why I would just land on him finishing 24th and just project him for that.
So obviously it's hard to go through chalk and pivots and all that without salary because that changes everything. But I think from what I've seen on Twitter and kind of from what you guys were saying earlier, it seems like people are going to be off Chase Elliott this week because he hasn't been good where Chase Elliott's been good before. Is this the week to play Chase Elliott if he's going to be super low owned, Jason?
I mean, I like Brandon said, I don't think I'm gonna play contrarian. Just play contrarian. I mean, I'm personally not on Chase because I don't like the speed he's shown so far. I mean, Vegas, he should have been great at Vegas. 18 fastest lap. Should have been great at Homestead. 3 fastest laps.
I mean, he still had a fast car in Vegas. I know he got.
I know he had that. I get that. I understand, but I mean, there's been an excuse every week for Chase, and at some point, like it's like the whole Kyle Busch argument we made last year. It's like. What are we going to keep paying $11,000 for Chase Elliott? I don't, because that's what he's going to be priced at again. You know, he's not going to be sub 10,000 this week. He's going to be priced 11,000 because that's where they price Chase Elliott at. And it's just I don't want to go and waste a salary there again, especially because I mean we see these weeks where like it's not that risky to fade a guy like that because. I mean, what's the odds he breaks the slate? I mean, as long as you still hit a couple of the other guys who are going to rack up some points, you can still have a pretty. Obviously, you want him if he breaks the slate, but I mean, no, I'm not going to be on Chase. Probably not. I got him projected right now for 10 fastest laps, 20 laps led, finishing 5th for 48.5 points.
Yeah,
that could change as the week goes on.
Yeah, and I'll bring this back to you. Obviously, we ran Phoenix last week, not really short track, but very. Close to what we're going to see in terms of laps and stuff. And I think we're going to see a lineup very similar to what we saw at Las Vegas and what we saw last week at Phoenix. So last week at Phoenix, you had Logano, Truex, Hamlin be your, dominators, if you want to call them that. Then you had Bubba Wallace, Stenhouse, and Suarez. It should be very similar to that in terms of pricing to where you have, possibly 2 10K guys or at least 3 guys in the 9 and 10K range, probably one in the 7s and then 2 in the 5s. That's what I think the optimal lineup is going to be again. So I don't want to screw around with a lot of the guys below or in the low 5s if they're in bad cars, and maybe trying to get an 8 guy in there to be different. But I mean, I think the way to build an optimal lineup should be pretty straightforward right now. Like we're looking to 2 to 3 dominators and just looking to fit in the best guys that you can with your remaining salary.
All right, so a couple guys we didn't talk about that I think we should at least mention. Brandon, I'll start with you. So
are we through the top 10 yet?
That's where I'm at right now. Say the one guy that saved my week last week, winning stage 1, hitting a 20-1 bet for me. Ryan Blaney. Brandon, what are your thoughts on Blaney this week? I know we talked a little about him earlier, but what are your thoughts this week on him?
If this race is cool, at least like this should be the week that Blaney runs well at. I wasn't on him at Las Vegas. I didn't think he'd be that good at Phoenix, and he ran up there, but he fell off throughout the week, he fell off throughout the race. He didn't have the fast car. This is where I'm going to target Blaney. This should be the situation to where Blaney should succeed. So I think he's perfectly in play. Now, I'm going to act like pricing doesn't even matter. I'm going to be on Blaney. Right now, my main focus is on getting Kyle Larson. Blaney would probably fall to my 4th, 5th, or 6th target, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I like Blaney too. From just like I know we weren't looking at last year, but we just looked at the last year there. Texas, 2nd best average running position, 3rd at Kansas, 5th at Vegas, 2nd at Homestead last year. He didn't run all that great at Homestead this year, so that's a little worrisome. But I mean, he still had 16 fastest laps at Vegas. He ran well this past week. You got to think he's turning a corner. It's really going to come down to where they price him at. I mean, right now I have him for like 15 fastest laps. I don't know if I can really project him to lead laps here with some of these guys that are starting in front of him, but he's definitely a guy who's going to have probably a pretty high floor because he should probably run top 6, get you to pick up 10 to 15 fastest laps, and he can perform out past that if he does make his way to the front. So.
And I want to say one last thing because I know I'm going to be asked. So since I just said he's like my 4th, 5th, 6th target, to lead laps and stuff, that's roughly equivalent to me having 20% of Blaney, probably 20 to 25%, just because he's not in my top 5 lap leaders. And so that's how I would view Blaney right now, probably 25 20% ownership. That's what I would look at.
Well,
I'm
and
really
so I was
impressed
at.
with the guy starting in front of him, William Byron. I mean, how do you not like Byron coming into this week with how fast Hendrick's been, how fast he was at Homestead, starting ninth. I mean, he was still even fast last week at Phoenix from the back. I mean, you gotta like William Byron here because they're probably still gonna price him below 9K, upper 8,700, and I don't think anybody's gonna play him. What was his ownership this past week? Still nobody was on him. Obviously, I know he went to the back, so that probably hurt. What was he at Vegas? So. Vegas, he was. I have it here.
Byron was 15 last week. I don't remember what he was.
Vegas, he was 15% again. Yeah, that was at 8,300, starting second.
Yeah, so let's bump that up. I mean, I don't see him getting over 29. He'll probably fall in around 24 to 26. That's just me guessing.
Great for a guy who could probably dominate though too, or who could at least chunk up some fast laps and who should run towards the front. I mean, even if he's a guy who's one of the data actually comes from last year as he ran decent, and just everything you look at this year just shows how much better he's running. So.
Well, and Jason, you answered half of the next question I was going to ask because I was going to ask about the two forgotten Hendrick drivers, Byron and Bowman. So, what are your thoughts on Bowman?
I love them both this week. I mean, I'm probably on all the Hendrick guys except Chase Elliott this week. I mean, you gotta like Bowman where he's starting 14th. You gotta figure he's gonna be running top 10. I think he can probably finish around 6th or 7th. He's been typically he had a handful of fast laps here in Atlanta last year. He ran about 14 at Vegas, so you got to think he's gonna be a contender to have some speed, pick up some fast laps. And he's probably gonna be priced relatively affordable. So he's another guy who I'm going to go back to the well on the Bowman well. Get another drink of a tall glass of Bowman.
Brandon, same thoughts?
Yeah, same thoughts. I'm going to have ownership to all the Hendrick guys. If I had to rank them, it'd probably be Larson, Bowman, Byron, and Chase, with Larson being far above the other two, Bowman and Byron being pretty much close together. Then just slightly below him would be Chase Elliott. If people aren't going to like Chase Elliott throughout the week, I'm going to probably own equivalent to the Blaney, so probably 20 to 25%.
And then, kind of crazy we've gone this far without talking about him, but it's kind of where he's been so far. Brandon, what are your thoughts on Kyle Busch?
Kyle Busch. Well, he's a guy who needs practice, and we need to remember that he's going to be running a modified on Saturday. So he's running the truck race, part of the doubleheader in the truck race at Atlanta. Then he's going to be flying to Bristol, and then he's going to be running a Bristol race, and then he's going to be flying back to Atlanta on Sunday. And so he's going to be very busy. I'm not really considering he's going to be worn out, he's going to have jet lag. I'm not bringing that in, but I think that is something you need to at least consider. That Kyle is a guy who takes the whole race to get used to the car and to do setups and stuff or to get used to the car, make changes in pit road. We might see Kyle be a bit off his game here. He'll probably still finish 6th to 8th, but this should be a race that I don't see him performing that well at, just because he has his eye on so many different things this weekend.
And I think the other thing about Kyle is we saw the past few weeks of where DK has priced these guys starting around this range. He's going to be close to pushing 12K again this week, and they're going to price it to a point where it's going to be very hard for Kyle Busch to come through on that salary. I got him generously projected for an 8th place finish and some fast laps, 10 of them, and he still only comes in for 51.5 points at that score. He can go over it, but once you start putting a 12K price tag on him, you're looking at he's going to need 60 plus points to come through for just 5X, and I think he's going to fall right around that 4X mark. We've seen him when he's priced here the last couple oval tracks we saw him on.
Yeah, and before we leave that, I want to bring up the other guys that are also racing this weekend at Bristol, because obviously we're there in 2 weeks. And so you have Larson, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott. They're going to be running the late models on Friday and Saturday this weekend. You have Austin Dillon, LaJoy, and Buescher. They're driving in the 604 late models, which is just a bit lower than the super lights that the other guys are running. Logano's going to be running in the dirt car UMP modifieds along with Crafton. Custer says he'll be running one of the late model divisions at Bristol this week as well. So you're going to have a lot of guys flying in and out of Bristol and Atlanta this weekend. And then the guys who aren't running late models this week, some of the guys running the Truck Series race are going to be people like Kevin Harvick, Chase Briscoe, Mark Truex Jr. I'm sure we'll see some more guys, but you need to remember that a lot of the drivers this week are going to be very busy flying in and out of Atlanta.
Yeah, I think I'm taking next week off from a content standpoint. I don't think I'm doing it. I'm gonna just point everybody your direction, Brandon, because I don't have the heart to go or the diligence to go through and find out about 3 different series, all the dirt guys in it. I don't know what it's gonna be. It seems like it's gonna be a crapshoot. I don't even know if I'm probably just gonna not do any content for the dirt race.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It'll be fun. I'll play. I'll enjoy watching it, but I'm probably not going to give anybody advice because I have no idea where to even begin constructing for a long dirt race like this or who's going to be good. I know we've kind of strayed away from Atlanta, but I mean, yeah, it's going to be a struggle. And there's going to be a lot of guys acting like they got it figured out, and they won't.
Yeah, I'm just I'll just be putting out what I'm going to be using to look at, whether it's right or wrong. So there's that. At least I know someone's going to be like, this is the optimized projection for Bristol. And I'm like, I know that's not going to work.
Are we going to get lineups like right before too? I mean,
no, they're running their heats the day before.
Okay.
So we'll know the lineup Saturday evening before the Sunday race.
It's going to be a fun weekend though. It should be really fun.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
Okay, who you got? Sorry, Ryan. We got off track here. Who do you got? What do you got next?
Well, no, I was you were close enough to the tracks that I let you guys keep going. We weren't far enough off the train tracks. But what I was gonna say is that I know you said you're not taking as much track history here into account. But the one guy that I did find interesting when I was looking at track history and how he's performed this year, slightly disappointing last week, Jason, with Kirbush. But when you look at his track history and you look at how he's been for the better part of the year, he's been all right. I mean, he hasn't finished outside the top 10 here since 2014. He's won 3 times. This year, even last week, when he finished 15th, it wasn't like, he was crazy slow. It just wasn't up to his projections. What are your thoughts on Kirbush this week?
All those stats check out. I love Kirbush this week. Even from the data I'm looking at, it's hard not to like him starting 11th. I mean, he ran well here last year at Atlanta. He had a fast car at Homestead. 31 fastest laps. I know that was probably earlier in the race, but I mean, I expect him to run very well. Top 7, top 8 potential finish. Probably going to get 10 to 12 fast laps. I think he should be a solid play at wherever they price it. I mean, obviously, if they price him at 9K, it's not good, but I got him projected for 45.5 points right now, or 0.45 points.
And so, Brandon, the question I was going to ask you regarding Kirbush is, we've seen a huge difference in the Chip Ganassi cars this year with Kirbush and Ross Chastain. Is that a driver differential? Is Kirbush just that much better, or is he in better equipment than Chastain? What are your thoughts on that?
Look, man, I don't know what's going on in Chastain's head. Like, Truck Series, he pissed everybody. They hated him. It's like that kid in school that just annoys you. Everybody hates him. So he pissed everybody off in the Truck Series. He made everybody bad in the Xfinity Series. And we're on week 4, and he's already blocked the Benedetto at Homestead. He's already getting into fights with Kyle Busch. He's already blocking Alex Bowman. He's already pissing people off. He's already making Joey Logano mad because he's blocking him as he's trying to lap him. Like,
I love it.
And he's running like 24th and 25th. I mean, this is your guy, Watermelon. Maybe he has a watermelon brain.
Top 20 this past week.
Oh my gosh, man!
19th.
He's gonna get dumped, man. I mean, don't be surprised. It might not be this race.
That's fine. And I bet you he can take it. I mean, he don't race like that and not take it. It's fine. I mean, as a fan, like, how do you not like? I like guys who race hard. Like
he's not always racing hard. He's just
he races hard. He always races hard. Like that's hard. He's up on the wheel.
Oh man. Man, I don't get that. I don't know how people are like, oh, that's just how racing was. That's what Dale would do. No, Dale's doing that for the win.
I'm just saying that. I mean, no, Dale would race your ass for 8th, 9th, 10th, 14th place. Wherever he's at, he's going to race you, just like Ryan Newman. I mean, there's something about that. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, you got to have guys like that in the field. Like, can you imagine if we got to Daytona, the Pepsi 400, whatever the fuck they call it now this year, and we get a restart with 2 laps to go, and you got Ricky Stenhouse next to Ross Chastain on the front row? Tell me that's probably not. You're not setting up for probably some action in these last 2 laps.
It should end the exact.
You're setting up for 22 cars sideways.
It should end the exact way it ended last year in the regular season finale, where Chastain blocks Busher down onto the apron, entering turn 1, and wrecks the field. It shouldn't be
first year last.
I mean,
Jason, you know how that probably ends. That probably ends with there being a third line that develops in the middle, and them both trying to go block it at the same time, and everyone just all comes together. That's probably how that ends. But it'd be exciting. All right, Brandon, a couple other guys we haven't talked about as much. The two Stewart-Haas guys that have pretty much disappointed people week in, week out. Chase Briscoe, Cole Custer. Thoughts on them this week?
Briscoe's still struggling. I don't see a reason to go there. Cole Custer just keeps running. He gets in bad situations, man. So this will be the third week of Cole Custer chalk due to stuff that really isn't in his control.
Yeah, he's been good chalk. I mean, he's ran well. I mean, what can you do? I mean, he was definitely a good play last week. I mean, I know it sucks his ownership and obviously where he ended up finishing, but I mean, he was right where he wanted to be, top 15, 13 laps to go.
Yeah, he's slow on pit road. He's probably the slowest of the Stewart-Haas cars on pit road. But I mean, like last week he was running, 16th, 15th when when Wallace ran out of talent and just turned him down the straightaway. So if he can just stay out of trouble, which I see him doing, I don't see him getting in a wreck this week. So he'll probably run 16th, 15th, 17th again. That's where he always runs at these types of tracks.
Yeah.
If you look at his history, he's always running 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th.
I'll tell you exactly. Yeah, Texas he ran 15th, Kansas 15th, Vegas 15th, Darlington 14th,
Yep.
and Homestead this year 15th. So I actually projected him for a little worse than that, like 18th, but still 34 points. Depends on where he priced him at. I mean, he should be. If they price him again at like 60, what was he, 6,700 last week? 6,900. So he'll be lower than that since he's starting a little closer up. So he'll probably be 67, 65, somewhere around there, which that looks like that's value to me where I got him projected at. That's an 18th place finish. So yeah, he's gonna be chalky again. But
yeah, which he's about the only. Sorry, Ryan. He's about the only ownership that if he comes in similar to where he's been coming in, I probably won't play him again. That might be the place I get different at. I'm not going to try and get different, at lap leaders and stuff. But Cole Custer would be a name, especially if he's in 6Ks, that I'm going to try and at least get off of or get different.
I think we're going to be different enough on these guys up front if we're on these same guys. I don't think, like I said, I just still think Hamlin and Harvick and them are going to draw a lot of ownership.
I'm thinking that this race goes similar, at least from our standpoint, to Vegas, to where we were just on guys from the start and they just ended up not being owned or popular. And so I think that's how it goes.
Which that's the way you want it to be, right? You want the data to point you in the direction of a good play that nobody else is looking at. You don't want to just be pulling strings just to play somebody. I know that works. That is definitely a GPP approach just because they're low owned, but there has to. It's a lot better when the data supports it.
So Jason, he's projected to start in 27th, Cole Custer. Tyler Reddick starts 29th. What do we think the salary difference is between the two of them?
Well, let's see here. It's going to be a lot. I mean, yeah, because Reddick has been consistently priced up. He was, 7,900 last week? Yeah, 7,900, starting 23rd. He's starting further back this week. So, yeah, I think Custer you're going to see north of 8,000. And I think they have similar upsides, to be honest. I mean, I think Custer and Reddick, not upsides. Obviously, Reddick has a little higher upside, but I think they run around the same area on the track this week. And you're going to pay a lot more for Reddick.
And so, Brennan, obviously the one thing about Cole Custer that people know is he won in Kentucky last year. Can we draw any comparisons, Kentucky to Atlanta? I know he kind of won it on a 2-lap shootout at the end. Can we make any comparisons to Kentucky and Atlanta and try and find him a win here? Or, like you said, he's just going to run probably 14th to 18th?
I think the only thing you could carry from Kentucky is if we have a 2-lap shootout, somebody's going to win that wasn't up there. They'll just stay out on 2 tires again and hope for the worst. But that's about all we can take away from that. I don't consider Cole's win in anything that I look at.
Are we off the Ryan Newman hate this week, Brandon? Or is Ryan Newman still stuck?
Where's good old No Neck?
Starting 28th.
Right in between the two of them.
Right in between, Custer and Reddick. I think he's going to be. I like him. I think he runs well this week. I mean, he ran well at Homestead.
If Roush shows up with cars like Homestead and he's in play, I just feel like people like Buescher, Wallace, DiBenedetto, even McDowell to an extent, and Stenhouse too. I think they can hold their positions and just outscore what Newman can do if they stay inside the top 20.
Yeah, well, just to count off that, I have Newman projected right at the same amount as points as a Buescher. only a little above Michael McDowell as far as where him projected at. So these guys are probably going to turn in as a better value because you're going to probably pay a little bit higher for Newman. So yeah, I do agree that if you're looking for value, you're probably not going to find with Newman. It's probably going to be these guys like Bush or McDowell in that range.
Yeah, ever since DraftKings changed the scoring, which is what I wanted to see after 4 or 5 weeks of their new pricing, if your driver finishes in the 30s, no matter if he started in the 30s, he's not going to work out. Mm-hmm. If he starts in the 30s, he needs to at least get to like 24th, 23rd to be good. If he starts in the 20s and he finishes in the 20s, he's still going to be outscored by guys in the top 20, like 18th forward, 20th forward. And so when you're looking at Newman, for example, starting 28th, unless he can finish 18th, 17th, 16th, I see people starting inside the top 20 outscoring him. So that's how I would account a lot of this, a lot of the new scoring system, all of the new starting positions from, the formula that they're using.
Yeah, which is right around, like I said, I got him like a 19th place finish. So just like I said, depends on where he comes in pricing, but what route to go with Newman. I was just curious if you were still on the Newman sucks train.
Yeah, him and that CTE is just gonna run 21st.
It's hard to come into this week and not pay attention to what Roush did at Homestead and how much better they ran, and to think that maybe some of that comes into carries over this week.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look through how Newman ran.
10th best average position rank, so he was running top 15 majority of the race, and if that's the case.
Yeah, he started 23rd, finished 16th at the end of the competition caution at lap 26. Started 10th, finished 10th at the end of stage 1, and then ran like you just said in that position, got into 5th, 7th, depending on where it was in the run, then finished 8th. And so and that might draw his ownership higher. I'd prefer to play Custer over Newman, and if I miss on Newman, I think that's just going to be how it is.
Yeah, I think Custer's a better play than Newman. I agree there. But it looks like we're going to have some options, I think, down here in this 6 to 7K range to play around with this week. I mean, to where I think the field's going to go with these position different guys, and you're going to have these guys sprinkled in around them like Bush or McDowell to be different. So,
yeah, and over Newman, I'd rather play Suarez, starting 3 positions more forward. I'd rather play Pre starting around 23rd. So that's probably where I'd go.
All right, Jason, so the final guy I want to ask you about this weekend. Hypothetical. Let's say you're planning on eating some pasta. Do you think you're going to be putting Alfredo sauce on it, or are you using another kind of sauce?
I don't think I'm going to be running into any Anthony Alfredo this week. Yeah, I just don't. I'm eating my words on Anthony Alfredo and backtracking. He's going to be about a 25th, 26th pace car, and there's just not a lot of upside there unless a bunch of people wreck. Then at that point, you might as well play Cody Ware.
Brennan, same thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Fredo's running in the 20s, running 26. That's where he's going to be.
26 is where I'm projected at. You're perfect. Look at this. We are either going to make money together this week or lose money together this week. It sounds like, Brandon.
We just have
on a lot.
Yeah, it's. Well, Alfredo isn't hard. We know where Alfredo is.
No, but
he should have stayed in.
Like, we just nailed it. Like, good show. We talked about Alfredo.
He should have stayed in Xfinity. Am I wrong? He could have been.
I don't know why he wouldn't move up. Get another year in the 2 car.
Yeah, he's a top 8 driver in Xfinity, and he chose to run 26th and cut. It makes no sense to me.
All right, so let's go through the odds real quick. I know you guys aren't necessarily as much bettors, but it kind of gives you a price on where guys are, the difference between odds in Vegas versus DraftKings pricing when it does come out, I think, is something you can look at. If, somebody is, let's say, 20 to 1 to win, and he's priced it with guys that are 100 to 1 to win, I think, you can look at that and see if there is some more equity. But when you look at the top, Kevin Harvick's the favorite. He's 5 to 1. Truex and Larson both 6 to 1. Brad 7. Chase and Denny are both 8. Logano is 9 and Kyle Busch is 10 to 1. Is there anything that jumped out to either of you with any of those odds? I think the first thing that jumped out, even though I don't think he wins, Denny Hamlin at 8 to 1 seemed like some decent value, and Kyle Larson at 6 to 1. Jason, anything in there?
Yeah, I think Kyle Larson at 6 to 1 definitely jumps out. He should probably be the favorite with how fast he's been. So that looks pretty solid. But yeah, I don't know if that's high odds or good odds. I don't know. I don't really look at this often to know if that's good or bad.
Well,
so.
A wise man once told me if they win, they're good odds. Okay. So yeah, quickly looking at the mid-range guys: Ryan Blaney 16-1, William Byron 20-1, Chris Bell 22, Kurt 25, Bowman 33. We won't go into the long shots, and I won't tell you guys again.
Bowman at 33-1.
Yeah, that's one that stood out to me. That's he was just kind of once again, he's priced with guys that he's got a better win equity than guys like Eric Almirola, Austin Dillon, those kind of guys. I think.
Yeah, I think Bowman and Blaney are places that I'd look at. If I was
Blaney was the first bet that I made. Blaney, that's all. I'm 16-1 was the first bet that I made, and we won't talk about it again. But yes, he's 200-1, and yes, I'm betting Chase Briscoe every week because if he ever wins and I don't hit 200-1 on him, I will, even if it's $1.
How much may I ask how much you have on Briscoe? You don't have to answer.
No, there are a couple. I mean, Chase Briscoe are a couple bucks a week, like $5 max a week, but he's 125-1, so you know.
Well, I was gonna say if it's 125-1, you need to at least put $1,000 down each week, and so when he wins, you win the 200,000.
Yeah.
No.
I won my version of the NASCAR Millionaire. Just it didn't happen to be on DraftKings.
Or do you try and get Boyer's money? You seem like the target audience for that.
See, I think I'm stupid, but I'm like slightly above that level where it's like I'm not gonna win that because they all do it. It's like whether it's like NASCAR or like soccer does it with exact scores and like ESPN does it with UFC. It's like, you know what, like they do these for a reason. Like if I was gonna win, I would win. So I'd rather put bets in and lose that way. I'd rather lose my own money.
Hey Ryan, I got a question. Do you parlay your head-to-head matches that you're on?
So it depends on.
There's a lot of people who are moving towards playing would rather parlay head-to-head matches for NASCAR and feel like they're doing better than doing DFS.
So it depends on what sportsbook you use. Some sportsbooks don't let you do that at all. For the reason that I do it when I do is because basically you're predicting a game script, a race script, and you're doing, how you would build a DFS lineup. And so if you're saying that guys, if like I think Hendrick's going to be fast, I might use Bowman and Byron over guys in that middle range, and matchups and parlay them together because you're like, well, if I think Hendrick's going to be fast, hopefully they're, 2 of the 4 fast cars. That's how I look at it. Now, some sportsbooks don't let you do that, but I think that's kind of if you're doing it, I think that's the strategy is you've got not necessarily like, oh, this team's going to be fast or whatever. You've just got to build a race script in your head. I see people, they do some crazy things. I saw people last week. So I gave out Ryan Blaney to win stage 1 at 20-1. And I also mentioned Kirbush at stage 1 and stage 2. He was 40-1. I saw someone last week. So he bet Blaney and he hit the stage 1, but he parlayed Blaney stage 1 and Kirbush stage 2, just like trying to like create. It was like, it's like 10,000-1. It's like just put $1 on it. It's like you just ever hit it once. It's like, you're just trying to create like a race script in your head. And obviously now it's not as easy, but I think later in the year, there's a chance when it's like, certain guys that, hey, they're going to stay out for, like if there's a late caution in a stage, these guys are going to stay out for points as opposed to other guys who are just trying to go for the win. I think later in the year, there's some value in those middle stages.
Well, couldn't you also, like you said, counter to that? Like, couldn't you like just bet on somebody to wreck every week? Like just say, okay, I'm going to bet Logano and parlay him against 20 people every single week. And one week he's going to wreck, and then you shouldn't hit your parlay.
I do think at least the sports books that I use, I don't think you're allowed to parlay like the same guy twice.
Okay, that makes sense.
So like I wouldn't be able to use like William Byron beating somebody twice, or I couldn't use like somebody beating Joey Logano twice. I think that's kind of how they do that.
Okay, I got you.
But yeah, but once again, it's just if you have a sports book that you can do that for sure. Now, if Joey Logano wins the race and you lose all your bets, that's sometimes the price you pay for gambling. But that's why it's called gambling and not taking money.
Or if it's a parlay, you only lose one bet, Ryan.
It's true. All right. Anything we missed before we get to the one and dones?
I think I'm good. I think we've had a pretty good chat here, Brandon. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add. So let's go ahead and look at our one and dones and see how we're doing there.
Okay, so last week, Jason, Joey Logano, 54 points. Keeps you in first place. Brennan, Brad Keselowski, 48 points. And then I told Jason before, I got screwed a little bit. But Kyle Larson, I expected him to start second when I made that pick. He obviously didn't get very many stage points because of the penalty, 32 points. But I'm going to turn it into a positive because that's what I do. The second that I realized that he was nowhere near Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano in points last week, and I knew that I had the first pick this week, I was very excited because I had the idea immediately once he crossed the finish line. He's been great here at Atlanta. He's been good recently. Martin Truex Jr., please.
Martin Truex Jr. Good call. Good call. I was going to go him, but I
6 top 5s in a row here. 8 of his past 9.
Good call. I like it. Good
Starts.
job.
What's he
You're
start
learning
second?
something. What was the total? What was our points? You didn't tell us where we're at. Total points.
You're at 200. Brandon's at 190, and I'm at 153.
Damn, you're way behind. You need Truex. You want to pick 2 drivers this week, Ryan?
No, because then the second one will probably finish negative and get 0 points, and I'll just waste the driver. But that's why I have 2 NASCAR analysts on the show. Isn't that why?
That's right. All right, Brandon's up next, right?
Yeah. So
maybe I'll mute both you guys this week and not let either of you guys make a pick. Maybe that's what I'll do.
Right, just in the podcast here. So I want to say this because for the one and dones, I want to save Larson for later in the year because I want to say that if Larson is this good right now, just imagine how good for DFS purposes. If he's
used him once, right?
Yeah, if he's clicking off right now, he's going to be dominant as we get through the summer and dominant as we get through the playoffs. And so just keep that in mind for DFS. Like I think we're going to be rostering Larson a ton. I'm going to go with Kevin Harvick this week.
And your logic with Larson, I actually have been using the opposite logic for that for somebody else because we've talked about how Chase hasn't been great yet. I'm assuming Chase is going to, at some point, turn back into Chase Elliott. Jason's already used him twice. You've used him once, so I kind of have him where, it's just like...
I'm beating you guys. I used Chase Elliott twice.
You used him twice, and you didn't even get a good finish out of him.
Yeah, you just wasted the Chase Elliott play.
I punted Chase Elliott.
That's why I'm saving. I already played Larson when he won. I can't ask for anything better.
That's the key though, is looking at like those guys you use. Like me using Larson last week and only getting 32 points. Like it's not the 32 points that kills me. It's the Kyle Larson's name next to him with the 32 points. I think it's gonna kill. But all right, so you went Kevin Harvick, Jason. Did I hear you say you wanted Cody Ware this week? Was that right?
No, I am going to take
BJ McLeod.
Man, I should take Kyle Larson here, right?
Fine, I'll give you James Davis.
But I'm like, do I take Kyle when he's got all his race? I mean, he's used to racing all this shit, right? So he's not gonna be fatigued. I could take a well-rested BK. I haven't used either one of these guys.
You could take Joey Logano and add him to your Chase Elliott list of guys you can't use the rest of the year.
Stand up and use Cole Custer, man, since he's so good.
No.
Or not Cole Custer, Ross Chastain. I can't even get my joke. The punchline doesn't even work. So I don't even say the right driver.
Give me Kyle Larson. Give me Kyle Larson. I'm going to play him now while he's hot and hope, and if he fades, and maybe he'll fade through the season.
Kyle Larson. All right, so quickly going through it. So we talked about it. Jason, you used Chase twice, Bubba once, Truex once, Logano once, and Larson once. Brandon, you used BJ McLeod at the Daytona 500. You used Denny once, Chase once, Larson once, Keselowski once, and Harvick once. I have used Byron, Blaney, Harvick, Keselowski, Larson, and Truex. So, Brandon, me and you both haven't used anybody twice.
Mm-hmm. Which is how a one and done with 2 choices should go.
Yeah, right.
Come on, Jason. I'm gonna keep giving you crap.
Look at it this way though. See, I got Jason's one guy that I've used twice. He's done, but I have guys that you guys have like. I haven't used BK yet. You guys have.
I think I find
both have used Kevin Harvick by now. I haven't. So I mean, I still
But what makes it so funny is that you used Chase Elliott twice and you weren't aware of it until the following week.
I literally don't think about this until he breaks it up. So.
That was funny.
All right, Jason. So where can people get more of your stuff?
Yes, like I said, all the stuff we talked about is first look shit. First initial rundown through the projections, so I'm sure they'll change as the week goes on. So if you want to see the updated stuff, check me out at free NASCAR at DFS.com, at DFS NASCAR on Twitter. I will probably be doing the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series slate this week. So 3 slates, going to be a busy weekend, a lot of content, a lot of fun.
Brandon, where can they find your stuff?
Find my stuff at Brandon Cruz DFS on Patreon, Twitter, YouTube, Patreons. I know you guys are getting your stimulus checks. If you feel like you want to support me, you can either wait till the start of next month or do it now if you feel like it. If not, I understand. We have 2 live shows this week, one 12:30 Eastern time on Saturday. That's going to be covering both the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series race. So it'll probably be like an hour and a half, 2 hour show with Race for the Prize. And then Sunday, 10 a.m., going to be going over live discussion on the Cup Series race. And then I'm going to have 3 videos out for all 3 races on the channel, probably Thursday or Friday. So just hang out and wait for those to come out.
I don't want to say, guys, if you guys haven't checked out their live shows, you really need to check them out. Like they talk about a lot of good information. They do a very good job. You guys do a great job with that show, and it's very entertaining. You guys should definitely check it out if you haven't watched it yet.
And make sure you guys check out my stuff, betwithbommel.com. Got some NASCAR bets, other bets as well for other sports. Last week we hit Ryan Blaney 20-1 as a stage 1 winner. It was also a good example of sometimes you can have some good bets on outrights and not necessarily hit them. We took Joey Logano last week at 9-1. I think he was obviously fast all race, finished second, just kind of the luck of the draw at the end. But that's kind of where we're at. Some outrights, some matchups, some head-to-heads, all of that. Follow me on Twitter as well, Gambling DFS Tips. Kind of talk about all that stuff there. And that's kind of where all of my stuff is as well. So just want to thank everybody else for listening. Make sure you're subscribing, rate, review, whatever platform you listen on, whatever they ask you to do, make sure you do that for us. It does definitely help us out, supports us a lot. We are back next week for Bristol, the dirt track.
Maybe it might just be you two. I might not be doing anything for Bristol.
You got to show up and just talk.
I'm just joking. Yeah, of course, I'm bullshit.
So also another thing is this is going on. Wait, people probably aren't even listening anymore. Pro Invitational next Wednesday.
Oh, no.
I don't know, or next week. It might not be Wednesday, but I know they're doing a Pro Invitational on iRacing before Bristol. So I don't know if we're gonna have a DK contest for that too. If we are, I'm gonna be talking about that crap as well.
You're nuts, dude.
If we don't, we don't. But keep that in mind as well.
My iRacing analysis, play William Byron. That's my iRacing analysis.
See, look at you're adding all this, and I've actually considered thinking man, do I want to write 3 articles a week? Maybe I'll just cut off an Xfinity truck, rotate them every week, just to only do 2, give myself a little more time with the family. Look at you.
Just don't write as much. Just don't write.
I can't. I try to I try when I start writing these things to then I gotta tell them about this. Because I try to write it in a way to where somebody who's never played DFS NASCAR can pick it up. So a lot of times, I find myself writing the same shit a lot of the times. But I mean, that's just I know that's who finds my content is people who don't play, who are new to the sport. So that's just the way I gear it to. So it's a struggle to just throw up a cheat sheet and a couple plays and not write about it. I don't know.
I don't know how you write that much. I don't know how you or Pierce do that. Because that drive me insane. That's why I do videos.
All right. Well,
I got a face for writing, so
I'd say just on behalf of Jason and Brandon, as always, I am Ryan Baumel. Thank you guys for listening. And Brandon, this line's for you. May all of your bets and lineups avoid all of the whammies this weekend.
Hell yeah. And if you see, because Jason's going to post it, and I'm going to post another GIF or GIF, whatever you call him, being extremely angry that he's posting good luck, everyone, because that's bad luck. If Jason does that,
so you think I should just go radio silent at the start and not say anything?
Maybe lap 20, just act like you forgot the slate lost half an hour before, and just be like, "Good luck, guys!" after the first stage. I think that's what you should do.